So, what's one of the things that's at the root of this memo from Office of Management and Budget halting all federal loans and grants, which is going to affect more than we understand right now, less than 24 hours after this memo has been released, that's scheduled to go into effect at 5 p.m. East Coast time today. One of the things that's at the heart of this is a piece of legislation called the Impoundment Control Act. And that is a law that essentially clarifies parts of the Constitution which say that the Congress has the power of the purse. Congress does budgets, Congress does spending. That's all under the purview of Congress. Trump's argument is that, well, I'm the executive branch. It's my job to execute the laws that are passed by Congress, including budgets. And his theory is that if Congress passes a budget or passes a spending bill, and he disagrees with that in some way, shape, or form, he should be permitted to impound those funds and not allocate or distribute the actual money. He has said repeatedly on the campaign trail, it's also part of what Russ Vought wrote in Project 2025, the chapter that he wrote on executive power. Russ Vought is Trump's incoming director of Office of Management and Budget. Trump said in June 2023, I will do everything I can to challenge the Impoundment Control Act in court, and if necessary, get Congress to overturn it. I will then use the president's long recognized impoundment power to squeeze the federal or the bloated federal bureaucracy for massive savings. There's no gray area here, okay? Just like with firing non-political appointees within the Department of Justice, those employees are protected. You can't fire them without cause. You can't fire them simply because they worked on a case run by Jack Smith. You have to have cause. His firing of those federal employees, his firing of the 17 or 18 inspector generals last Friday night is illegal. It is against the law. He does not care that it's against the law. He's like, fuck you, do something about it. But when it comes to this spending stuff, there are going to be lawsuits filed. There are going to be lawsuits filed probably today or tomorrow. It's a virtual, columnist named Steve Vladek writes, it's a virtual certainty that the Trump administration will argue that the Impoundment Control Act is unconstitutional and that the president has inherent constitutional authority to impound funds and spending allocated by Congress. That argument is a loser, but it's a good bet that it's going to be up to the Supreme Court to say so, and probably a heck of a lot sooner than we might have predicted as recently as yesterday. Donald Trump is at war with the federal government. He is at war with the American people. And he is going to continue, as he did last week and as he's doing this week, he is going to do outrageous things that are going to negatively impact the lives of every single American who's not a multimillionaire. And my belief is that he's just going to keep going further and further and further until there are mass protests in the streets, and then Donald Trump will use the Insurrection Act to declare martial law, and he will assume a dictatorship. He will assume the powers of a dictator in the United States, and he will lock us down. I'm trying not to be hyperbolic, but he has said he wants to do this multiple times in the past. Some of these Project 2025 clowns were recommending that he use the Insurrection Act on Inauguration Day before he even won the 2024 election to put military troops in the streets with weapons against American citizens who are protesting him. So if you go to any protests, be careful.